Pontificators live. We are live, everyone. Yes, RT Bear here, and we got a great show lined up. We got the usual suspects, which I will bop in a minute or two. But I just want to touch base with you guys, see how you're doing. Hope your night's going well. It's Wednesday night. This is our night, the Pontificators night. Tuesday is the Bros, and then Monday is the Kings. But Wednesday is the Pontificators. So I'm declaring my turf. This is a turf war for YouTube. So I'll probably get my butt kicked tonight. But so be it. There's a lot of competition, man. A lot of CB or what is it? CG competition. Yes. So as always, you guys, give me a sign of life in the chat. This is going to be very interactive. We're going to go over real quickly the Todd Mcfarlane Bleeding Cool article, and there's speculation that Mcfarlane may be in line to take over publishing at DC Comics, and we will get our hot takes, the Pontificators hot takes on that, and also just something fun. We're going to do like our top 3 rogues gallery, not just villains, but rogues gallery at either Marvel, DC, or wherever, because I think Pedro has one that I'm really looking forward to, and I don't want to step on it yet because it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to do that. We got just a night of entertainment for you guys. So buckle up, Buttercup, and strap yourself in for a wild ride. So let me say hi to a few of you before I introduce my guests. Joseph Dredd, hail Art, hail right back at you. OCB Reactions, hail. We got Lamagante. Did I say it right that time? I always get corrected on that. Howdy, Artie Bear. What's up? We got a Willie J. Draws. DC used to be awesome. Yeah, when I worked there. Mighty Joe, hail. Hey, we don't have a full roster yet, so you guys start chiming in. We're going to actually get your hot takes on your top 3 rogues gallery as well, or at the very least, we'll have you kind of vote on your top 3 after we give our top 3. So this is going to be fun, very interactive. Let me introduce. He is a badass mofo. He loves wrestling. He loves hot women. He loves walks on the beach. He loves beautiful sunsets. Comic Book Bob.
Oh yeah.
He loves hot sunsets and walks on the beach.
I like my women like I like my coffee in a plastic cup.
In a plastic cup? That's weird, man. That is weird. How you been, brother?
A little under the weather, but I'm all right.
Yeah, well, we missed you last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Hey, do you have that handy, that Pontificator banner that you were going to show off at the wrestling match?
Yeah, I can. I have a picture of it.
Yeah, that thing.
I can show you. It was. I don't think it made it on TV because they were doing something weird, and they were like, for some reason, the camera wasn't going up high enough during the show. But
well, while you're doing that, Willie J draws says Spiderman, Batman, FF. Okay, slow down. We haven't got there yet.
There you go.
This thing. I actually want this. I'm a geek. Hell, the Pontificators. Inco's on the banner. That's cool, man.
Yep. I had there was a 2-sided sign. The other side was my the wrestling channel show that we do, called the Wrestling Council. But then I was like, man, I gotta do something for CG. I'm gonna be on. I'm on the camera side for this big show. I gotta do something to try to get on there. So I haven't watched the whole thing back yet, but I don't I haven't seen this on there, but I know a lot of people saw it because the people were there. I was like, what the hell is that?
That is too cool, man. That is too cool. We have Mr. Pedro Eng, my brother from another mother.
How you doing, guys? Art is Llama Gigante, all right? Just Llama Gigante. That's
Llama?
Llama, yeah.
It is not Llama. There's an L in there.
It's a double L. In Spanish, double L sounds like a Y. Llama gigante.
Pajama,
Yes.
like pajamas.
Yeah.
So
Like
pajama
gigante. The llama
pajama
gigante.
legante.
Yeah, gigante.
Egante.
There you go.
You know, I
That's close.
can't guarantee that I won't butcher that again. So I do apologize. He always does this, so he makes me feel good. Like, close enough.
Close enough. Yeah.
It's close enough. All right, man. And our newest guest, and oh my gosh, man, he's been knocking home runs every time he comes in. I love his hot takes on stuff. We got Chris Wozniak. What's up, brother?
How's it going, guys?
Yeah.
He's not quite in the groove yet, man. He's not letting his inner free fly yet.
Yeah, the wrestler. The wrestler. The wrestler.
Yeah, you gotta get out there, brother.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I've been hanging and banging for 40 days and 40 nights, saying my prayers, eating my vitamins.
Well, I think the best part of doing stuff like this is the different energy that everybody brings.
Yeah.
So Chris, don't feel the pressure, man. You be you, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
I
do you
get
remember
aggressive, but I
when
get a little
Shane,
ghetto. I don't know if I want to do that.
remember when Shane first started doing streams? He was like really reserved and everything, and now he's just like one of the weirdest dudes in the planet. That dude
Hey, I
is out
remember
there, man.
Shane when he was doing was it Facebook Live or whatever that thing's
Yeah.
called. And I used to go on his streams and just heckle the shit out of him. This was before like CG or anything, man.
Yeah, now he's getting drunk on stream and like wearing masks and stuff. Weird.
Well,
Dude,
Very entertaining.
yeah, he ate a taco off his studio floor. So,
Oh my god.
oh wait, what is this? Epson software updater? No.
Yeah,
No.
no.
No, don't
Where
do
am I
that,
going?
Art.
Oh shit.
Don't do that, Art.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm back. So, Chris, how you been?
Pretty good. Busy week. You know, getting back to the drawing board. That was
Noise.
eye-opening. It's been a while.
I
Nice.
saw some of the stuff you posted. It's really good,
Yeah.
man. Well, we can show that off if we have some time towards the end.
Okay.
So, Chris, if you could get closer to your microphone, do you have an external mic or?
I don't know what's going on here. I think I'm just live off the. I think I'm just mic'd off my iPad.
You're just using your mic.
Is it low?
Oh,
A
it's a little better the closer you get. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once we start talking, you know, there's a lot of
Just talk
talking over each
screaming.
other, so it might be hard to hear you.
Mhm.
Oh shit. Oh shit. We got the We got Clint
Oh my
Holinsky from his hotel room.
It's a
Cheers
hologram.
My God, everybody's drinking? Give me 1 second.
Yeah, that's
You
it.
guys?
Hang on a minute.
So Clint, where are you coming live from? Where you at?
I'm at Caesars.
Caesar is as Caesar does. Caesar's in Las Vegas.
It's Caesars in Las Vegas. How long have we been married?
I don't know.
18, 19-year anniversary.
Well, you know what? Clint and I have only been married for 3 years, so it's still like a honeymoon. It's there she is.
there
Wait.
you go.
Hold on. Here we go. There she is.
Yes, we have somebody pretty, so we have to put them on full screen.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Hi, gentlemen.
All I can say is she's too good for you, Clint.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
While you guys are there, I have a friend, old roommate of mine, and he's the creator and he runs a chain of stores, and they're called Stupidiotic. And I think one of them is in that Caesars Mall, you know. There.
Yep.
Yeah, it's either there. I think it was originally at the MGM, so it's. But I think it had been moved, so it might be there. So check it out. It's a fun place to go.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Cheers, guys.
I have to keep her away from the shopping.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can lose. So you can lose more money at the blackjack table.
Yes. It's all poker.
It burns so good.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bob, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Buffalo Trace
Nice.
straight bourbon whiskey. The only whiskey with balls.
Nice.
And what are you drinking, Pedro?
Oh, I'm having some hooch. Local made.
This is something that I made in the toilet.
No, actually, a neighbor makes it. It's called palm wine, and
Oh.
this will put hair on your chest. It's good.
What about your balls?
Mm. Your balls, you have to allow it to grow.
You get the whole
naturally.
trail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't mess with cojones growth hormones, no, like that. That's not gonna work.
Yeah. So
You don't want them.
Chris,
You don't want them.
Chris,
You don't
what
want
are you
them.
drinking?
I'm going soft with some red wine. I'm not gonna,
Nice.
we're not
Nothing
dipping
wrong
into
with red
tequila
wine. I like red wine.
live on the air.
Hey, I've been messed up on red wine before, so that ain't no joke.
Ah, dude.
That's the first one. I'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, if you guys hear some really romantic music coming from Chris's studio there, he's getting ready for a hot date.
Okay.
Clint, what are you drinking?
I just had a blood orange Manhattan down at whatever the Vanderpump. I think there's some like reality show on the E channel, but the bar was cool. It was really cool. And now I got a bottle of vodka back in the room just to kind of, keep it going. And then we're heading out to a fancy restaurant tonight. So yeah, it's going to be on in about an hour and a half here.
So you're on a different coast now. You're 2 hours earlier than I am, 3 hours earlier than East Coast, right?
Yeah, we're West Coast, so I'm a little messed up, but it's like 5 something here.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you got messed up. You're feeling good.
That sounds like witchcraft to me.
Well, we're gonna start off with there's a little bit of a departure. We just got some bleeding cool news, so we're gonna share that with the folks. Let me find it.
Breaking news.
Give everybody some context.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, stop that. All right. Well, we have this is bleeding cool. Yeah. McFarlane turns up the heat with DC new DC Comics Heatwave figure. So everybody pretty much knows, anybody that's into comics knows that Todd McFarlane has a line of killer action figures, toys. So the Flash's Rogues Gallery is coming to McFarlane Toys with yet another Page Punchers figure. Heatwave is joining Captain Cold with a brand new armored up figure for based of on the Scarlet Speedster DC Comics. Adam Captain Cold, Heatwave, and the deadly telepathic primate known as Gorilla Grodd. Unlike the previous stylings of Heatwave, Mickey is going a fully armored power suit with an almost Doom design. Okay, so we don't need to get too much into the toys. What the speculation is, there's going to be a comic book with these toys.
Oh yeah.
Comic book, yes. And let me see if there's a close-up on the book. I think this is the most close you're going to get is right here. So it says DC Comics, and you can't read the credits, but they're DC creators. And so this is a line of DC Comics. So, brought to you by McFarlane with all new McFarlane designs. So I assume all the designs in this new Flash run will be based on the toy line. So, and it's a #1. So I don't know, man. Let me see if they get a little bit more into what. Let me see if I get that. What the
yeah. Maybe a little bit of like a Heroes Reborn vibe kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, this design looks pretty damn cool though.
Yeah.
Let me see, because I'm more interested in the comics than. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So I guess we can speculate or assume that there's going to be more of these comics, or do you think this is going to be just a one and done?
Is it could maybe they're filling it out or?
Yeah, but even then they would do a few with the line.
Yeah.
The other thing is there's way more money in toys than comics. Like licensing, but toys are like that's easy money when you got like $15 to $17 to $20 for a plastic figurine that you can mass produce. So like just on a level of economics, which we've all looked at what Zaslav's been doing. It's about like this company's going to be about making money. We're capitalists. This isn't SJW bullshit. We're cutting anything that's fallen to the wayside.
Well,
Like,
do you think that this? Yeah, do you think this is a move towards Todd McFarlane publishing at DC, or having more affiliation?
Move
with
just
comic
Todd
books?
showing his aptitude at business and DC showing its ineptitude at what they've been doing for the last 20 years.
Yeah, the thing is that people are putting faith in the corporation. Like, for example, Disney has been outsourcing his Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and to anyone. It's not like, I don't think it's going to be only tied to Todd, but I think Todd is the first step. And it's going to be open, because the thing is, like, they will take no risks producing the comics, and they'll see less profit, but profit if it's profitable. And that's what corporations do. So I don't know. Like, I think this is the first step. Is Todd McFarlane going to be? Yeah, but I don't know. What's that?
Like, does Todd want to answer to corporate overlords? Like, Todd's got it pretty damn good.
Well, I think his relationship with Jim is going to be different, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think Todd would kind of lay things out. I was like, listen, here's how this is going to work if you want me to be part of this.
Yeah.
And Jim, being Jim, would probably be like, okay, we'll do that. And here's the thing: if this was Marvel, I'd say there's no chance.
Mm-hmm.
But this is DC, and Todd and DC is Todd's first love. So, Todd doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't want the headache. He doesn't want the headache, which I think the only way that this happens is he lays it out. He says, we're going to do this, and this. Get out of my way. And Jim,
before I comment, are you done, Bob? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I want to hear what Chris has to say, because he's got a little bit of insight on how DC runs. And
yeah, I did some marketing work at DC, and generally speaking, first of all, I think this is just super.
Holy shit!
This is exactly what we talked about last week, was Todd coming into DC. So, and now it's like it seems to be a conversation almost. But how it would usually work is that the marketing, books that would be packaged for toys and stuff like that are all handled in-house, and actually would not be part of, if it's done as it was back in the day. I don't know that Todd would have anything to do with the actual oversight of that comic, but given his history with comics, there might be a different or new relationship or something. That would be pretty interesting to know if he had anything to do with the actual production of the book itself, and not just the toy. But back in the days of superpowers and stuff like that, that stuff was just done in-house, handed off, and because DC was the client essentially, so it wasn't the other way around where they needed approval for something. It was the toy company that was picking up the license, and so the company DC sent the pack-ins completed for them already, and they had no input. So I'm curious to know if that's what's going on here, or if Todd's involved. Because if he's involved in any aspect of producing a DC comic of any kind, that's something to talk about. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But I just have like my take on it. I know Jim. I've worked with Jim Lee in the past, and Todd McFarlane as well. I really don't think. I agree with the chat. What was it, Willie J. Draws? Where I don't think that this is Todd making a move to become publisher at DC Comics, or really have any control over DC Comics. I really think that this is just a opportunity to do his own action figures based on the DC characters, the DCU characters. And I think what's smart is that those toys are going to get into stores. Like, it's going to be easier to get those toys into stores than it is the comic books. But the toys come with comic books, which I think is really smart branding, because they're backdooring the comic books into places where kids can get them. So what I think happened is Jim opened up the invitation to Todd. I think I know Jim enough that I think that this is just pretty much standard Jim, like open an invitation, say, what do you want? What do you want to do? And then those two brainstorming, because also there's a number one book. That's Jim Lee's MO, right? Like just renumber stuff, start all over again. So, I'm sure that the ploy was, hey, Todd, come on over, make some DC toys, and we'll launch a bunch of new number ones, or because I don't know how it's going to work, if there's going to be a number 2 of the Flash and a number 3 or 4, or if it's just going to be a Flash one and done, or is there going to be more that are going to introduce the other Rogues Gallery so they can sell more action figures? I don't know, and the article doesn't say, so that'll be interesting to see how it moves forward. But I really don't think this is a ploy for Todd to take over DC, because there's nothing to gain. So having said that, what do you think, Bob?
I think it's going to be, well, by the way, I found a bigger picture of the comic.
Oh, okay.
And it's an action figure next to it.
Can you read the credits in the corner?
Yeah. It's Seeley, Collins, and I can't quite make out the last guy.
Scott Collins. Yeah, Scott Collins.
And KAJSZ.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Probably the inker colorist. Yeah, Scott Collins is pretty much a mainstay Flash. Like he's done a lot of Flash comics.
Been there forever on Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what it is it's more like it's kind of like because they're going to do that. They're going to do another Spawn Batman crossover. And they announced that at Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they got this. I think this is more like Jim's like, listen, I'll let you play in the DC Playhouse. You could do these projects whenever you feel like it. I think I don't think it's him taking over publishing or anything like that. I think it's him being able to do these little special projects he wants to do, and Jim's trying to feed off of that.
Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, Jim still had an ace in his sleeve. I do think that Jim was actively involved in this, and I think that there was, I don't know who instigated the conversation, Jim or Todd, but it was definitely like, hey, brother, let's do something cool, and then the conversation led into, comic books and toys, so Jim is, comic books, and Todd's still, comic books, but in this situation, he's more the toys.
And this is a win-win for Todd. I mean, none of the, all of this is all good for Todd with zero risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not having to worry about the headaches. He can just go in there and create whatever he wants and just, here you go.
Yeah. Well, how do you guys feel? Do you think this is long-term? Pedro, what do you think? Do you think this is long-term?
Well, the thing is, I'm not really focusing on the fact that it's Todd McFarlane, but the fact that Warner Brothers let go of the production.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to me, that's more important and actually, what the future of DC right now is dude, it's going to be outsourcing. I see it happening. I don't know how that hasn't happened for Marvel yet. Even though they're trying, they gave Spiderman to IDW for a little while, something.
Oh, they gave Spider-Man, young.
Oh yeah, the kids line at IDW.
Yeah, but that didn't pan out. But they're trying. They're trying because they want to get rid of this dead weight.
They did that in the 90s. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
Life on Captain America and Jim Lee on Fantastic Four. Those are outsourced books. They were. I don't know that Marvel had anything to do with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I'm wondering if this is like Jim maybe looking back at that and going, we could do something like that, generate some buzz that would help us out in the eyes of DC of Warner Discovery.
Well, and
I think. Oh, go ahead, Clint.
Oh, sorry. Like Art pointed out just a little bit earlier, it gets comic because they package the comic with the toy. It gets comics into places that toys aren't getting. There's going to be the combination of the toy comic at Walmart, at Target, at whatever kind of stores. I don't know. There are toy stores anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are there any toy stores anymore?
But it does get comics out into different avenues, which that needs to happen more than anything. So
Yeah, that's the best news that I heard out of all this, but I just don't know what the campaign's going to be. And also, talking about like trying to outsource, the publishing and things like that. I mean, there have been companies that have done that. I mean, mostly Disney with the Disney Digest stuff and things like that. And Disney almost always, like, they just license everything. So anything that you see as far as manufacturing, they usually will oversee it, but they have nothing to do with the overhead. So they didn't put the overhead together. So having said that, there's maybe what DC and Warner Brothers and Discovery wants to do, and then there's what the reality of it happening. I really, my heart of hearts, I've thought about this for a long time. I don't think it's possible. I don't think anybody, especially in this market, is going to pick up publishing for DC Comics. I just don't. I really don't see it, because it doesn't seem like a good business move. You know what I mean? Like it seems like comic books are selling less and less. The markets are drying up. The retail outlets are drying up. Like, what would be in it to do it? Especially because it would be licensed. They wouldn't own anything. So they would just be publishing the comics for profit. Chris, what do you want to say?
No, I think you're right. I mean, how much money is there in that? Especially, there was a time when, DC had their numbers padded by grocery store sales for Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Also for Archie, also for Star Trek. The only comics that you could sell to moms. They put them at the end of the checkout aisle in grocery stores and stuff like that. And I think they do have to try, given the market is so bad, and they have to just try these type of outlets, to try and bring readers in any way they can. But I think you're right. I mean, if I'm a publisher, do I want to put out Batman? How much money is there? I mean,
all publishing is really hurting right now. And Chris, man, you're saying some great stuff. I want to make sure people can hear it. If you could possibly get closer to your microphone. Yeah.
Stick your face in it, man.
Yeah.
Just motorboat that mic.
I'll speak up too.
You can handle the extreme close up and still look really good.
I'm trying not to get too close to you guys.
I wanted to make sure I could pop in here for a little bit, but guys, I am going to cut out. So
take it easy, brother. Have a good night.
Live long and prosper, Pontificators. Love the chat, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Have fun.
Have fun, Clint.
Give him the whole.
Thanks, guys.
Wow, that was cool, man. That was a live remote from Las Vegas with Clint Helinski, creator of Pirate Queen.
Pirate Queen. Go get that pirate booty.
But yeah, I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but I just wanted to kind of say, like, put it out there, because these are fun predictions, right? These are like, let's say what we think and then see what happens. I really think that DC would like to do that. They would like to give up like some of the overhead, the publish, or not DC, but Warner Brothers. I think they would like to, license the stuff out. I think Marvel more so, since it's owned by Disney, that's kind of their MO. I know that they would love to just get rid of the overhead, but who would do it? Like, I can't think of any businessman that would come into that unless there was ownership involved. Like if you could own a piece of Batman, or Superman or something like that, then maybe you would do that. But
that will
just
never happen,
publish,
That'll never happen. I don't see that happen. The way I see it, probably it's going to be Warner Brothers is going to be selling IPs, not like the whole DC in a block. But like, who wants to do Batman? And then like a company will say, I'll do it, and then they'll negotiate and whatnot, because that's what they really want to preserve, the IPs. They want to preserve Batman.
But even that, like that would be like a bad business move, because you're like piecing out your universe, and the best. I mean, they could do that. Because there's one character that they could do that somebody would publish. Like you could entice somebody with just Batman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the license universe fee would be.
But what if you get like an excellent artist in Yemen that can stretch that dollar and say like, okay, sir, you'll get Aquaman. I think that's what's gonna happen.
You mean that they'll just piecemeal, like they'll just piece it out.
Somebody, yeah, like somebody that worked for almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've done that. I mean,
Yeah.
DC went, shopping in South America for artists and stuff like that, and in the Philippines and
Yeah, exactly. Philippines,
and,
Brazil.
No,
and
the
to good
Bennett
effect.
Studios.
I mean, tons and tons of talent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I mean that essentially works,
Yeah.
but to actually, hand off production to someone overseas, I don't know. I would see that as the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be bad. That would be really bad.
And who would be willing to
Take into
build the infrastructure for a publishing company like and I don't know any publishing companies that have enough money that could go in and then pay the licensing fee to Disney or to DC.
And you're not collecting the money on the back end anyway. On your best day, it would be half. And are the numbers there to support that? Yeah, maybe with Batman and Superman.
I know a couple.
Nothing else.
I know a couple of investors south of the border that can come up with that cash real quick.
Yeah,
guys that can count on though. Or?
Yeah.
There's a lot of their stuff fall off the back of a truck, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like,
But
I still think it would be a bad move, man.
it's a horrible move.
Well,
don't get me wrong, I think it's horrible.
And to make a point, somebody brought up the IDW books. Those books were actually propped up by Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel actually put money into that, so it wasn't like IDW was taking care of everything. Marvel was actually pushing money into it.
Yeah,
because
So-
what publishing company is more powerful or has more resources than DC and Marvel? There really isn't. So who would that publishing company?
Image, maybe. That'd be about it. But they're not, like you said, they're not going to make money. There's not
But
enough.
that's not even their business model. Like
Yeah.
their business model would really change.
They don't have enough meat off the bone.
If you have publishers as big as Marvel and DC Comics, why is IDW publishing anything for them? Why is IDW doing the art books that Scott Dunbar does a great job on, and the other, the guy with the T, I can't remember the publisher, but they do those great oversized books. But like, why, Marvel and DC are big publishers. Why is anyone doing books for them? It's insanity. That even that much is like any special project that is going to incur a high cover price, goes outside their doors, and it's just like, are you not capable of putting out a book? It's very, very bizarre to me, that they can't handle that stuff in house,
But they're definitely downsizing. I mean, DC Comics is getting rid of their their Burbank offices. They're going with the what is the desk?
No, the hot desk
model.
That sounds porny.
Yeah, that's a hot desk.
That's a hot desk, baby.
That's one.
Say it on it.
Yeah,
Oh, that was a little weird.
Yeah, that was weird. Okay, well, I think we've kind of speculated. So for the record, we said our piece about it. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. But I think if the industry was healthier, or if there was publishers that had deep enough pockets to do something like this, they would. But I don't see it, and I don't really see like Todd wanting to bring it into his world, because he can just like move on a dime, right? So he can play in the DC sandbox, and he can do that, for a while, and then he can do, I don't know, wrestling figures or sports figures or Marvel figures or his own figures or whatever, and I think as a businessman, one, it's more interesting, creatively, and two, it probably makes more sense financially, because if he puts all his eggs in one basket, which would be DC Comics, that is a thankless job. And also, what if it tanks? What if he can't bail it out? What if, after the first couple of years, like the New 52, people just lose interest in it? Then all of a sudden his image is tainted. You know what I mean? It's just a lose scenario, I think, for Todd. I don't really see any winning scenario for him.
Not taking over publishing. Yeah,
Not
now,
at the moment.
but I can see.
Go ahead.
I can see what we were talking about before, though, where they're like, "Hey, you want to do these little projects? You want to like do a little one shot or a mini series on this character? do something with you do, because he's doing all these figures for DC. Want to do a little add-in comic with this thing, something like that, like and it appeal to like things he wants to do, but that he has no responsibility outside of that, and just come and go and trade off of his name and popularity.
Yeah.
Right.
It does nothing to solve the bigger problem though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
No. It's a band-aid.
Yeah.
But let's just leave it on this, that it is moving in a good direction, because I'm kind of hoping that this is Jim Lee saying, oh, why don't we market this toy with a comic book? You know what I mean? Because the distribution makes sense, because then all of a sudden there's the toy. It's based on a comic book, and they're both marketed and packaged. It's not the first time. This isn't like, brand new kind of idea, but in a market that lacks retail outlets, which lacks like exposure to a new audience, this is a good move, and also if it does take and it becomes popular, then the winning scenario for Todd is that it's my version of the Flash. It's my version of the Rogues Gallery, or my version of the DC Universe, which then does give him clout and does give him power. But publishing, I just see it as like it's like a no-win for him. So this is going to be fun, you guys. We're going to do our top 3 of
Rogue Galleries.
So Marvel, DC, across the board, it doesn't matter. Well, like best Rogues Gallery in comic books. And so we're going to do a round robin between the 4 of us. So first will be Bob, and then Chris, and then Pedro, and then back around to me. And then we'll see what our top 3 are. But we'll start with just the first off the bat. And like I said early on, in case there's some newbies coming in, we're going to throw it at you guys. And so we're going to do a little vote, and we're going to see if you agree with us, and based on our top 3, what your top 3 are. And then maybe we can figure out, because this is kind of one of those age-old, who's got the best Rogues Gallery kind of thing. And this is going to be fun, because there's some that are indisputable.
Yeah. I think the number 1 and number 2 are pretty much, we know exactly who they're going to be. They might be interchangeable, but the third one where it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, somebody's got to say it, but it's not going to be me, because I'm purposely not doing the big 2. All right, Bob. What Spider-Man do you have for us?
What Spider-Man? I'm actually going to start with number 3. My number 3. And
we got to do the.
I
see.
Okay. Right.
I see what you're doing. So, the way I was thinking it is, it's okay. Go
1, 2, 3 in order like that.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right, I'll go ahead and do it with my number 1. And this was tough, because I'm a Bat guy, but I have to say, I think the Bug wins this one, man.
Nice.
And there's I went ahead and you want to share that out there, Art?
Oh yeah.
I think the Bug wins this one, man.
Yeah.
I think when you look at it, because I kind of put things into like I think in kind of like video game terms. So I think like S tier villains, A tier villains, B tier villains, something like that. Spider-Man has, in my opinion, 3 S tier villains, and I think Batman only has 2.
And when you have good villains is when there's illustration like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you never see a Wonder Woman, like Rogues Gallery done like this, You never see, Ant-Man Rogues Gallery.
Yeah. But obviously Green Goblin is the number 1 villain in Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
But then, you've got, and I think the other thing too is that as time has gone on, he's added more and more that were at that same kind of like A tier, S tier level, because you got Venom, and then, from Venom you had Carnage. But I think, especially with what they've been doing with him lately, I think Kraven is starting to creep up. I think he's I think he was a B tier guy. I think he's starting to creep up into A tier, because as time goes on and they explore more and more with these guys, like obviously the last couple of years have been kind of bleh, but up until about 10 years ago, man, they were looking into different things with him. Like that, one of the best storylines I remember reading was that storyline where Sandman was dying. And basically, they had that story where Spider-Man just sat on the beach with him talking, and then as they were talking, he just comes apart and flies away. So he has there's so much. And I'm using this word, and I know a lot of people don't like it. There's so much diversity in the differences of his villains and whatnot. and just the types of villains that he has.
Let's use variety.
Variety is a better word, yeah. But just like there's all of his villains, they all share kind of like, and that's something that he and Batman share, is they all have like an element of him.
And you know the best thing is, like, when the Spider-Man book was launched, all these villains were like a month apart. You know what I mean? Like, they were just throwing these villains out. Like, this month will be this villain. Next month will be this villain. Like, that universe was just jam packed, full of A-list villains, man. Even villains like there's Morbius in there, but also like Kingpin, I always think of as a Spider-Man villain.
Initially,
yeah. I think of him more today as a Daredevil villain, but he's still ingrained in that Spider-Man universe, And there was that great story where after Civil War, when Peter revealed his identity, and then he goes and he beats the shit out of the Kingpin because the Kingpin put the hit out on Aunt May.
Yeah.
It's like there's and even like villains that aren't necessarily his like Spider-Man's DNA is all over the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about oh my gosh, what was the villain that I'm thinking? So there's Kingpin, but there's the Punisher, right? I mean, the Punisher
came
from Spider-Man as the Spider-Man villain. So Spider-Man has got. I mean, I don't think.
And even his B and C villains are kind of cool, like Cardiac and Solo.
Dude, Batroc the Leaper.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But
wait a minute, Batroc was Spider-Man as well?
Batroc was originally Captain America, but then there's some stories. But Chameleon was another one.
Chameleon, yeah.
It's like I said, like even his B and C list villains have a cool element to them.
Spidey's B list roster is stunning.
Yeah.
I mean, like, in those early days of when Stan was still on the book, and we're talking like 1970 going into 71, he's starting when he first hands it off to Jerry Conway. And Jerry Conway takes over writing Spider-Man. He's 19 years old, and he's handed the #1 book in the country, best-selling book in the country, and he just kills hit after hit after hit with the Jackal, and but Spidey's B roster is, I think, better than anybody's, and that's why he's like #1, because I mean, the Shocker, Molten Man, the Jackal. The Jackal was a brand new villain.
Yeah,
he was accepted from Go, and that whole clone, not what they did to it after, but the initial Clone Saga that he did with Gwen Stacy was a shocking book. The first time we had ever seen an innocent person die, and then they brought it back, and now it's done all the time. But we're talking 1973, 74. That never had happened. And the way he did it was super clever. It was cutting edge science and everything. And he had the villain with the right motives and everything. That was a stellar storyline. Got poured out later with the whole Clone Saga. But the initial Jerry Conway run with Ross Andrew and everything, that's one of the best runs ever.
Yeah.
For any comic book. But Scorpion, Molten Man, Shocker,
Vermin.
Like we said, Punisher comes out of there. But I'm talking about the early, Stan Lee, Jerry Conway.
Yeah. Who was the one? Oh my gosh! I remember as a kid, I bought this book, and
Mindworm.
No. He has like the spikes on his shoes, like the tips of his shoes, and he's diving.
Tarantula.
Yeah. It was the Jackal's like henchman.
Yeah.
He was an
assassin.
I still remember that cover. I was like, cool, man. His shoes are like chipping the bricks on the wall.
South America somewhere. And there's a scene with the tarantula that Miller rips off later, where Spidey goes looking for tarantula in the warehouse, and the warehouse, the lights, the power's out and everything, and he uses his Spidey signal to as a flashlight to kind of look for him, and he's searching around, and then it like hits on him, and then they have a fight scene in the dark, that's only lit by the Spidey signal. You know, awesome stuff.
That's cool
Fantastic
stuff. And I want to address two villains. Okay, there's the Vulture. So if I go off on a tangent, you guys remind me to go back and do it. But it's Craven. The thing about Craven, I always felt it really depends on who's writing and drawing the character away. You know what I mean? Like, because that character, if it's not drawn right, he can look a little weird and strange.
Yeah.
But my favorite, I think, visual artist was Mike Zeck on Craven. I mean, he made that character look badass. Like he could take care of himself. So I really think it depends on who's drawing him. And then somebody brought up the Vulture in the chat. Vulture, the Tinkerer. The Vulture is one of those characters like, oh, he's just an old man, right? It's like yeah, he's no threat. Well, this wasn't a Spider-Man book, but I still remember this. I think it was Denny O'Neil writing, and it was David Mazzucchelli penciling, and maybe it was Joe Rubenstein inking, and it was a Daredevil issue, and it was Daredevil battling the Vulture in a cemetery, and oh my gosh, it's David Mazzucchelli visuals, but this is before, like Born Again and before.
Was that Act of Vengeance?
Year one. It was, I think it was even before, what is his name? Frank Miller took over Daredevil, like his first run on Daredevil. I think it was even before that. And so it's a while back, but I remember reading this thing, and the fight scene was so good. And there's one thing. Okay, so the Daredevil, because he doesn't have the air superiority the Vulture does, so he grabs the Vulture by his legs, and then he crosses his legs. Like the cemeteries that got the cross, and so he crosses his legs on the cross. And then he thinks that's going to anchor him down, and the Vulture can't. Oh shit, dude, that's it. Oh wow, this is a great book, you guys.
Yeah, and I think this story started in like Willie just said, it started in Daredevil 222, 220.
Yeah, so like Daredevil thinks like he's not going to be able to uproot him. He's going to be able to bring him back down to the earth, right? But the Vulture just uproots the headstone and everything, and so Daredevil still has it, on his legs. And I just remember like Daredevil not letting go, and I think he just starts. Either the Vulture's punching on Daredevil, or Daredevil is just
punch him in the dick.
Yeah, he just punch him right in the dick, man. Right in the dick. But I just remember as a kid, or whenever I read that, it was absolutely fantastic. Like the fight scene was good, and after that, I was like, "Yeah, the Vulture is a badass." Like
that's an awesome perspective shot too.
Yeah,
he's old school.
Yeah, he's a good villain. All right, man. Well, let's move on and let's see what Chris has for us.
My number one is going to be Spiderman. Away from that. We're talking about my favorite character, and but again, like for me, like the meat of Spidey, and Spidey is a history of fantastic talent. Like from the beginning, going into the 80s, and just tremendous stuff. But like the meat and potatoes for me is the Jerry Conway run of the early 70s. That is Stan is still when they first bring in Gil Kane, and we got John Romita doing finishes often. Those issues are fantastic, and then we segue into the Jerry Conway issues with Ross Andrew. Now, I think that Jerry Conway really, really, really had his finger on the pulse of Spider-Man. He was it was very New York. It was very man in the street, and at the same time, he was able to craft these stories that were. He really, really got Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is not Batman. Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and Peter Parker puts on that costume and he goes out and he fights. It's not the same thing. It's and he does it at great cost and sacrifice to himself. And that to me has always been the core of that character.
Yeah, Peter Parker doesn't change
Yeah.
his personality to become
Yeah.
Spider-Man. It's
No.
it's just a way to hide his identity, but it's not like there's a different persona, you know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially in those days when Spider-Man was, was the menace, Spider-Man, and J. Jonah Jameson was always after him, and
Public enemy number one.
yeah, and so basically, the character, he's a hero, and he's going out and he's sacrificing everything, his loved ones, his well-being, he gives his life to saving other people, and he gets shit on for it, and every night he puts that costume back on, he goes back out, and he goes and fights for to save people. That is the essence of what a hero is.
You know what I was just thinking about, Chris? Like everybody's like, well, we want to make comic books more relatable, like to adults and like more realistic and stuff like that. What's more realistic than what you just said? Like that's a very complex character, and also it's a very real character because most of the time when you do try to do something for somebody else, there is like a certain level of baggage. There is like some backlash. It isn't always like you do something for somebody and then all of a sudden everything's perfect. Sometimes it gets complicated. And so, Spider-Man is a great character that way because he is very realistic. You know what I mean? As realistic as these things can be.
And
but
he had a super rich, life outside of being Spider-Man that was relentlessly being fucked with because of, what he had to give to be Spider-Man. And he just saw that it's his responsibility because of his uncle, and he couldn't turn his back on it no matter what the cost. And, it cost him everything. It cost him, he was miserable sometimes in his real life. And when he did find, peace and love, and that got ruined, with Gwen Stacy being killed and everything. There's no point. Like Stan really understood that character and set him up to be, and a lot of people talk about Ditko and everything, and that's all 100% true. Ditko had a ton to do with it. But honestly, it's when Ditko is off the book that I think that the character, and Stan is writing it on his own, that's when the character becomes this complex, deep, engaging, character that he is. And I think that, throughout that run, there's the issue with where Spider-Man 90, I believe, where he's fighting Doc Ock, and Gwen Stacy's father gets killed in the process, and he's in love with Gwen Stacy, and and as he's dying, Captain Stacy says to him, he's still in mask, he's still as Spider-Man. He says, "Peter, take care of Gwen." And dude, forget it. Like that he knew that he was Spider-Man and knew he was in love with his daughter and never fucking, said a word about it. Even though it was his job to hunt him down. Stan fucking killed on those stories. It's like, and then when you get someone like Jerry Conway, where he takes over, he didn't miss a step. He's just right from go. He's all that, and I think more. I think Jerry Conway brought stuff to the character that we still are, are mining to this day.
Is Jerry the first one that took over after Stan left?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 19 years old, no less.
Okay, Chris. Well, who's your favorite villain in the Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery?
Ooh, boy.
And why is it Green Goblin?
It's not. It's not the A-listers with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's that B-list. It's the Rhino. It's the Jackal and Molten and Shocker and Scorpion especially.
Yeah.
All those guys. Those guys that were Mysterio. There's a killer issue with Mysterio. I think it's 148. It's got the fantastic John Romita cover with Spidey's back and he's facing everybody in the mist and everything. That's a killer book. Atmosphere and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and
John Romita was the marketing master for Marvel.
And Marcus actually brought up a good point. He said that he killed off a bunch of people. And I think that's when Spider-Man's world had stakes.
Yeah, well, that's is, I've had this conversation many times. That's the beginning of the Bronze Age,
Mhm.
when Gwen Stacy died. That's the end of the innocence in comics. That's the first time that an innocent person is killed in a comic book, like a significant, innocent person.
Okay,
'Cause,
this is a little tangent right here.
yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Didn't you guys ever think like the Rhino really belonged in the Peter Pan universe, like as one of the Lost Boys?
The Rhino
Because of
could
that
be
one kid with the
badass.
onesie in the friggin' movie.
Yeah, yeah, the onesie at the floor, yeah. Following the leader.
I like. I'll tell you what, man. Like I said, like Spider-Man's B and C list characters are better than most characters
Oh, hell
A-listers. You
Yeah.
know,
Definitely.
like one of my favorite stories with the Rhino was that story where he basically retired. He gave up because he found that woman, and he fell in love with her. And then she ends up, and then the new Rhino, the guy in the mech suit, comes along, and he's like, "I have to defeat the original Rhino to take the legacy," and blah blah blah. And he ends up killing her. And then the Rhino's just like, "Okay," and he goes and he gets the suit back on. And it's just the way that they described that character, like he was this guy. He was underneath the suit. He was just a guy. But when he put that suit on, he became a freaking monster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
a lot of tragedy.
Yeah, in his
I
characters,
think-
yeah.
Yeah, everybody talks about that Mr. Freeze animated episode that everyone loves so much.
Oh, yeah.
Because that massive amount of drama that is in that episode. But that type of thing is in Spider-Man all the time. A lot of you mentioned that Sandman story where where Sandman just fades away into the sand. There's a lot of that goes on in Spider-Man. Very Shakespearean kind of big events, poignant events. The same thing happened Molten Man, where
Yep.
he couldn't control his heat and he was overheating and everything.
Eddie Brock when he got cancer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that goes on, and has always gone on in Spider-Man, and that's that's the road that Stan paved and Jerry Conway, picked up with, and everyone since has been, just
Yeah, because
rolling along,
he killed Gwen Stacy. He killed Captain Stacy. He killed Gwen, and it's like,
Yeah.
and that's part of like people like they talk about is like they don't seem to like that in modern comics today. Tragedy is part of who Spider-Man is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the sacrifice and tragedy is what
Yes.
Spider-Man is, and now modern day comics they kill somebody it's just for the sake of sales, and they kill it, and it doesn't have the meaning that it.
Well, the Gwen
that it
Stacy
has.
thing, they didn't telegraph either. I mean, they didn't
No,
say
they
they
didn't
were
say
going to do
anything about
anything.
that.
The solicitations, when it
Yeah.
happened, you're like, holy shit.
I bought the
Yeah.
next issue, 123. I bought the next issue thinking they were going to backpedal and go, oh, she's still alive. And I couldn't believe it when I opened that fucking book and it's like, last page is like, oh, she's dead. You killed her. I was like, what? I just, even after they killed her in the last issue, I didn't believe it. I thought there was going to be some, how they always backpedal like in the serials that they did in those days and everything. But it was like, no, she's dead. And I was like, fuck, mind blowing,
Yeah. So good. All right. So, Pedro, what do you have?
Yes. Okay, so my number one pick informs my number three pick. So I go with Batman. Oh yeah, and for one simple reason. I mean, this is the perfect mix between comic book villain and mafia thing, because these guys are like really criminals.
Yeah,
and that's something I appreciate. And Batman always has done that for me, even though he goes with it fantastic, like with Mr. Freeze or the Blubber, even freaking Jesus Christ, I'm doing the
like
brain fart.
Clayface and
Clayface. It's just like, but even if they're fantastic, they're still like they're hoodlums, criminals. So yeah, I do appreciate
criminals
it.
are a cowardly lot. Which all goes back to that original statement that he said: the criminals are a cowardly and superstitious lot. So every villain that is in his rogues gallery have an element of being a criminal in it. But yeah, dude, it's like I said, man. I'm a Bat guy,
Yeah.
But when I compare the two, I'm like, there's just a few more of those A tier, A tier, S tier villains in Spider-Man than there is in Batman. But
Yeah,
and
what I
like,
like here is like the variety. Is they're not all super powered. For example, like Ra's al Ghul is just like the leader of a cult, you know. Or then you get like the Riddler, the guy who is obsessed with
being smarter than
goofy.
everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the other thing too, is that just like Spider-Man, every one of his villains has an element of him in them.
Yeah.
It's all psychological with Batman. I mean, they're all like you could get into the psychology of these characters. Like they're so deeply flawed in like almost like a serial killer kind of way. Like there's just like this sickness that's I mean, like
Gotham City. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
they're all in the same cesspool.
Yeah,
They're
that's
all
in the characters. And I'll tell you, like Clayface was one of those characters when they created him in the comics, it was like, who gave a crap, right? But when they brought him into the animated, holy shit. I think it was Marv Wolfman or whoever wrote those episodes. Oh, so good. When he actually would like morph, I was thinking it's kind of like Sandman, but the visuals were like scarier in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, like because he was all goopy and everything.
Yeah. And the thing about Batman's villains that I really like is that a lot of them have that element of if one thing had gone differently in their life or their creation, they wouldn't be who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's why I love the Killing Joke, because the Joker's like, you're all just one bad day away from being me. But then you get into the nucleus of the story and the gist of the story, and you find out, no, he was always going to become the Joker. It just happened. It just happened in that way because the Joker always existed inside of him. And it's just like people talk about like they in modern times, they don't like the fact that Batman doesn't kill. But Batman has the best explanation. Like if you actually know the character, you know why he doesn't kill. Yeah. It's because if he starts, he'll never stop. And
two, I just think like what makes Batman a hero is that he doesn't become a villain.
Yes.
Like Batman basically is a villain. Like he's got the villain backstory. He's so damaged, but he does have a code of ethics. But if he deviated from that code of ethics, then it all falls apart. He's not a hero anymore. And I've said this before, but there's the Gordon character, and I always thought like if it's kind of like the Spider-Man thing where like Spider-Man is misunderstood. Well, Batman's kind of misunderstood as well. But there's this guy Gordon, right? And so Batman always has to work within a structure. Like he's not really he has to work with somebody. Otherwise, in a realistic way, it all falls apart. Meaning there's a structure to it. There's the judicial aspects of it, right? So then, like I always just thought, like Batman gathers information, like he brings the villain to justice, but he gives Gordon everything he needs then to create a case to be tried. You know what I mean? Like, because there has to be that aspect of it as well, because you can't just beat these characters up and then go, oh, then he should be thrown in jail. Like the Batman universe is a little bit more complex than that because it gets into the judicial aspects of it. It gets into more the procedural stuff because there's the Gotham City PD. You know what I mean? So I always thought like Batman at his best has to walk a very fine line because Gordon on the exterior has to act like, yeah, let's hunt down Batman. But at the same time, Batman's feeding him this information so that he can bring these weirdos to justice, right? So there's like a real fine line there. So if Batman started killing people or doing stuff like that, then Gordon, like that's the one he has to win over, because if he starts doing that, then Gordon's going to turn on him. And then if Gordon turns on him, then he's public enemy number one. You know what I mean? Because I can't see anybody in Gotham City being behind Batman for his tactics. The only way they would actually get behind Batman is if there was results. You know what I mean? That these villains were going to jail. They were going behind bars. All of this kind of stuff. That's always been my take on Batman. Go ahead.
And Joe brings up this point that he thinks that Batman does more damage trying to catch the villain than the villain itself. That's definitely not true. If you you've known anything about like what the Joker or like the Joker's Jokerfish plan, that would have murdered half the city, you know? So it's like it's one of those things where it's like, you know, like and it's an element of superhero comics that you kind of have to like, you know, take with a grain of salt, in the idea that when they have these battles that destroy like half the city or whatnot, the idea is that not doing that would be worse. So I disagree with that statement wholeheartedly, that he does more damage than the villain himself. Now, there's the argument that if he put the villain down, that villain never hurts anybody ever again. But if he does that, the war is over. You know, and
but he can't do that because he has to believe in the system. He has to work within the system. That's why Batman is to me is an interesting character, because he does, other than being a vigilante, he respects the law and he works within the law. He's not the Punisher. Like the Punisher isn't really a hero. The only reason we get to say the Punisher is a hero is because the writer says he's the hero. You know what I mean? You get to see what the villain did, and by seeing what the villain did through the Punisher's eyes, you know that he's a bad guy. These are cop wish fulfillment stories. Like when you watch NYPD, you know, or whatever these shows are. I know that's a dated, you know, like, but these like cop dramas. There's always like that Sipowicz characters. There's always one character, or even Lethal Weapon, like the Mel Gibson character. There's a wish fulfillment cop. There's a cop that does shit that you would want to do if you were a cop. You know what I mean? Like the cop just saw this guy murder somebody, you know, in cold blood. So then that cop beats the shit out of that guy and cripples him. You know what? And that's what you would want to do. But in real life, you can't do. That's why I kind of don't think like, you know, when they kind of make Batman a little bit more hard-edged, I don't like it, you know, when he breaks people's legs and does stuff like that, because that's him putting himself above the law. You know, that's him.
Art, I know you don't want to do tangents, Art, but you said Lethal Weapon, and all I can see in my head is now like diplomatic immunity.
Diplomatic immunity.
Yeah.
It's just been revoked.
Well, you know, he even says it. He goes, "I'm not a cop tonight, Rod." But he puts the badge away. Like, up to that point, he wasn't acting much like a cop anyway. But you know, at least the writers were like, they went, "Well, we got to acknowledge the fact that this guy isn't really much of a cop."
Yeah,
yeah. But in the sense, Chad said the Punisher is good because he knows how to lead him.
Yeah. Oh man.
Frank Miller back in the day said that like the Punisher is Batman who's honest with himself. You know, that's how he saw it. You know, the distinction between those two characters. You know, between Batman and the Punisher, who goes out and does what he thinks needs to be done, and Batman who, you know, is still kind of living that lie of that there's justice. You know, and Punisher just sees it cold. And it's a cold read, and he's gonna fucking do what he wants to do. You know, I think that's a good, you know.
It's a parallel, definitely.
Yeah.
But I always thought, like, if you took it under like some kind of reality, that the Punisher would be able to do what he did until they caught him, and then either killed him or brought him into justice. There's no way the Marvel Universe or anybody in New York City or anybody would be okay with this. So if you're going to create a character like the Punisher and you're going to bring him into the Marvel Universe, he wouldn't be doing it for very long, because somebody would stop him, because you can't let a loose cannon like that do this stuff. You just
can't. He was initially, you know, his initial.
He's a villain.
He's a hitman.
He's a hitman.
Yeah, John Malin is in the chat, and he said, breaking an arm or a leg in combat is justified. Breaking limbs without need is crossing the line. # White Boy Summer.
Indeed.
Hail, Coach.
Hail, Coach.
But see, I've always gone with the theory that Batman is is order struggling against chaos.
Mhm.
That's why he doesn't cross that line, because he's trying to be an agent. He's an agent of order versus the Joker, who's an agent of chaos.
But he also believes in the system.
Right.
Like that's the thing that I think gets overlooked. Like he really does believe in the system.
When the
Because
system's not corrupt.
If he didn't, then he would be the Punisher.
Yep.
You know, he would just kill
I think that's the main difference. Like,
Yeah.
and the Punisher will basically snuff. I don't know. I remember I read Punisher Max first before reading anything.
Maganucci story.
Yeah, dude, that was just like, okay, what the hell is this?
Dude, hey,
This
it's
guy-
Bears.
This guy's not a hero, you know. But then I read like the previous, and like, okay, now I get it. But yeah, this is just like he's like the spirit of vengeance, and it's more like what somebody would do without inhibitions, and that's diametrically opposed to what Batman is, because Batman is all about control. So I don't know, like I don't see.
I just thought of an interesting Batman story. Okay, you have like, okay, there's spies that have license to kill, right? And police officers have, they can use, justified force, right? I don't think they say they have the right to kill, but I think there's some like, justified force or whatever it is. What if somehow, I don't know, this would be the interesting aspect to write, if Batman, for the sake of just coming up with this on the fly, had a license to kill. Like, what if Gordon actually swore him in as a cop? You know what I mean? So he could act and he could basically work as a police with that same kind of, legal, I guess, wiggle room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's hard to apply that if you don't know who he is, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's always
deputized
a vigilante.
Yeah.
Deputized vigilante. Oh.
But you know what? If this was the Wild West, it would be done in a heartbeat.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it also comes down to the idea that, like I always said, that specifically talking about superhero comics, superheroes are paragons. They're not us. They're supposed to be better than us. That's why they're superheroes.
Right.
And I think that's a big element of what Batman is too.
Yeah. Excellent choice there, Pedro. I got a feeling these two are going to come down to the top.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, let me go with mine. Let me make sure I have it queued up first.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I do. No, I don't. You know what? We're going with our top, right? And I didn't go with Batman, and I did go with Spider-Man because I knew that you guys were going to pick it. So let me go with mine. Share screen. It's the Fantastic Four.
Woo!
Hey.
Yeah. That was one of my my dilemma was choosing between X-Men and Fantastic Four for number 3.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm not really a cosmic guy, like the big storylines. But when you think about the Rogues Gallery for the Fantastic Four, it's
a who's who.
Insane.
It's
Dude,
crazy.
Dr. Doom, Galactus, the Super Skrull,
dude.
Kang,
Well,
Annihilus.
they're all here, man. Like
the
this
Skrulls.
is the
Namor.
Mole Man.
Man.
Yeah.
Red
Red Ghost,
Ghost.
See, Red Ghost and Dragon Man, I would put in like a B tier kind of thing, but man, like you just like you look at their top 5 and it's like insane.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
Dude.
it's
This
just
Captain
Kirby run
Awesome.
amok.
It's a
Kirby did what, 113 issues or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something I think is really missing from modern day comics is by him staying on that book for so long and by writers staying on the books for 4 or 5 years, you give these characters a definitive identity and voice, that carries through to the years later. So that's a big element I think is missing.
But
Kirby's running around these days.
No, Diablo. I remember that character.
And
But-
like somebody said about the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery, a lot of them go on and then they're like kind of defined in other titles. Like Kingpin becomes more of a Daredevil villain than a Spider-Man villain. And then if you look at these Fantastic Four Rogues Gallery, you recognize these guys in all kinds of other storylines, Super Skrulls. and stuff like that. Super Skrull is a great ass character.
Yeah.
And then holy shit, Galactus.
How's Galactus not? Well, Galactus should be number 2 behind Doctor Doom
Mhm.
as far as the Fantastic Four is concerned. So this list is sus.
Dude, I mean, I don't know. I always thought like, is
Annihilus?
Galactus
Wow.
Galactus really a villain? The guy just only wants to eat.
Well, he's a force of nature, but he's a
yeah,
force of nature with a
exactly.
mind. So
Yeah, exactly. But he's just hungry. Like that's, I mean, that's not evil.
yeah, he
It's
doesn't.
inconvenient. It's inconvenient, but not evil.
He doesn't have
Yeah,
to eat the Earth.
Yeah, but tell that to all these planets that lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Screw them,
But-
man. This is where I
Yeah.
keep all. This is where I keep all my stuff.
Mhm.
But think about the Silver Surfer, man. He's the herald of Galactus. That's some crazy ass shit, man.
Yeah.
I always
mean,
think like the Silver Surfer is like he's a very complicated character.
mhm.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen anybody do anything cool with him in years. But he always struck me as like he could do good and he could do bad. You know, he's
Well,
maybe a little bit morally flexible.
He did a lot of bad because Galactus altered his personality
Yeah.
and took away. They basically made him indifferent to the suffering of the universe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't until
But-
later that he found that out, and when he took
But
that
I don't
away,
know.
it wrecked him.
I haven't read that much Silver Surfer. But is there any like Silver Surfer where he goes like, "Hey, Galactus,
First
here,
books.
here's the
Yeah,
ketchup."
the first
Yeah,
book
you know, yeah.
The Sam and Stan Lee, the first,
Mhm.
you know, there's only like 16 issues, I think, in
Mhm.
that first
Mhm.
run. But
Yeah.
Jesus, the drama that's fucking in those books
Yeah.
is crazy. You know,
Oh yeah,
that-
like his conflict in that was
oh my
insane.
God. Yeah, and
Hey, we got
di-
PGP in the
between the
chat.
dialogue and the dramatic poses and from Buscema, you know that's something. You haven't seen a comic like that probably since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we got Patrick. Hey Patrick, what's up, brother?
What's up?
Yeah, the new action figures look great, man.
Oh yeah, dude. Ooh.
I think this Annihilus image,
Annihilus.
I think I inked it. Let me go back.
Or it's like,
It's a great.
I'm old.
I have like a 2-year run on the Fantastic Four. I still can't believe oh wait, that's not
Boomerang.
Oh, whoa, 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 hey!
I'm giving away something. I
I
went
probably
the
ain't that one.
I
Yeah,
clicked
dude.
Oh my god.
I
That's
need
not the
more
guy.
moves now.
That's not the guy I would lead with, Art.
No.
That's the Telegraph. Yeah. So yeah, like with Chris Claremont writing Fantastic Four with Salvador LaRocca, good times. So Kang.
Kang.
Yeah.
Kang.
I always think of like
Comics
Kang
book
as,
Kangs.
as being an Avengers like villain.
Yeah, more so than Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I do. God, we're not gonna have time though. I wanted
Well-
to get into like villains that are like villains of like teams like Justice League
Crossovers?
or Avengers. Yeah,
Mm,
you know, like I always think of Starro as a Justice League villain.
mm.
You know?
Yeah.
It is,
Well,
but
the thing is-
super underrated. You know, Star was not a joke. I mean, that's well written. That's a serious character. you know?
Yeah,
And then like
Kinda
isn't
funny.
the reason why that he's considered a Fantastic Four villain is because he's related to Reed Richards.
Mhm.
They're related. They're blood relatives. Like just obviously distant future, but they're blood relatives.
Wait a minute, Starro's related to Reed Richards?
No,
No.
Kang.
Kang.
Oh well, Chris
Yeah.
was talking about Starro. We were talking about
Yeah.
Starro.
Yeah.
Yeah, King definitely. And then I mean Namor, look at that.
Yeah.
Dude, I see Namor more as a villain for Reed, more
Yes,
so than
a
the
villain
rest of
for
the Fantastic
Reed.
Four.
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to get his woman. So.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a big move, man.
Correction. He's
Yeah.
had his woman.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Pedro. Did you say that was a dick move?
Yeah. You don't do that. You don't. No. No,
Yeah.
sir.
Ramatut. Yeah, Ramatut was Kang.
Okay, so then here's their number one, Doctor Doom. Who's going to dispute that, huh,
No,
Bob?
best villain
Ever.
in comics. Period. And I can't
Ever.
understand how you screw that up in a movie.
Mm.
Oh,
Well, you
badly
do that in a
too.
movie by not even like using the comic book version of the character.
I wanted to
Yeah.
punch. I've never wanted to punch a
That's
director
free.
more in my life than that abomination of a friggin' movie that came
Oh,
out
man.
back in like
Well, if you do
04,
a movie version of Doctor Doom, you really have to set it up very, very carefully because there's so many facets to the character. There's science, there's magic, there's like old world, like Europe, You know, like he lives in
Yeah.
a castle and he
The-
has like people that like follow him. And
The thing that I've always like found about Doctor Doom that makes him such a great villain is that like his tactics are terrible, and he's he just does these terrible things, but he's doing it all in this idea of advancing humankind. And if you look at it without any kind of emotion and any kind of morality, the scary thing is that if they did let him rule the world, it might actually work. That's the scary thing about him, is like that's dangerous.
There's one thing that people really don't know about Doctor Doom is he's got the hots for Namor.
Everybody's got the hots for Namor, dude. Man, Namor is like androgynous as F these days.
But
have you seen that crappy costume they put him in?
Shit, yeah.
God.
But the thing is, like Doom is a very like complicated character, and by like film language, he's so all over the place. Not really, but you know what I mean. From their point of view, like you have a 2-hour story. How do you set up Doctor Doom? You know what I mean, without being the whole movie. Like it would just be very, very difficult to do in any kind of quick way. So I think if Doom was brought into the MCU, I think they would have to do it over a course of like kind of the way they did Thanos.
Yeah, that's exactly. He should be the big bad of this coming of like the entire thing, man. Of the next big thing. He should be he should be the next Thanos.
I agree. I think he's got the status of it. And now that they have the Fantastic Four, the film, they can move forward with that. I think
What was that, Was?
They have to do it.
No, I was going to say that, like, I just realized that FF was not included in the whole Marvel universe, but then they had those issues with the rights and everything. But, I mean, done right, because that movie was terrible.
God, it was so bad.
But done right, it would be the best Marvel movie ever.
Yeah, it would be the titular Marvel story, because that's what started it all.
Yeah, if you do the FF movie, it's got to be 3 fucking hours long. It's got to be epic. It's got to be amazing.
Yeah.
2-parter.
And then 2-parter, 3 parts, man. Forget it.
You can do an entire phase just on them.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, they better not piss it away, because Marvel already has people like comic book, loyalists. They already betrayed most of them big time. But if they do that cinematically and they don't do the Fantastic Four right, it's done. It's over. She-Hulk is going the wayside, which is great. So
they announced that's getting canned already.
No, but nobody likes it. It's really
stinking.
It's the lowest rated out of all the Marvel Disney Plus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
John says insult Atlantean women by calling them sea cows. For all we know, that could be a compliment.
Yeah.
Yes, Chad, just do a Doom movie. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. I would be one, like, introduce him like kind of like what they did with Thanos at the end of Avengers, where you just get a glimpse of him in his castle, and then do a setup movie where you see his formation and why he hates Reed Richards so much. And just showed like how freaking devastatingly badass this guy is, and like make people realize this guy is not a threat, he's the threat.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, John makes a good point. Like,
I'm the greatest supervillain ever. Reed Richards is fake news.
I come from Latveria. It's the best. We have the best ever.
Latveria is the best. We have the best of everything. We have the best looking women. You can just grab them in.
Here, wear this hat.
Yeah.
Make Latveria great again. So saith Doom. But just like
Fantastic
Doom's,
Four also, like, Hollywood hates families.
Has to be a family. Yeah,
they hate families. They have to make it a family. But you know what? It's not like a traditional family anyway. It is a family, but it's not like, I mean, Reed and Sue.
It's not a blood
later,
family.
Later, kind of create that kind of traditional family situation. But before that, like going into it, it's not like that at all. I had this years and years ago. This is how I wanted to see the Fantastic Four being introduced in the Marvel Universe, because I wanted them to pay tribute to the original comic book, right? The comic book came out in 61, something like that. The first
I
FF.
think 61 is right. Yeah.
61. Okay, so that was also, the height of the space, race, all that stuff, right? Works perfectly. So do it as, oh shoot, we got porn bots. Bob, can you get
Porn butts.
You made it when the porn bot starts
Oh
showing.
yeah, well, when John Malin comes in, the porn box soon to follow. But anyways, real quick. So it's 1961. Everything works just like the comic book. Like they go off, same backstory, everything, right? So then they're gone for all these years, and then they resurface contemporarily. Today, they show up again, and then it's like, well, how is this possible? How is this possible? And then they tell their stories, and then how they're supposed to be like these heroes. Well, they come back. They're these heroes, but then these freak things start, happening. Like the thing is, I think they turned into those characters in space still. I don't think they did it when they came back to Earth.
I think when they crashed on Earth, I think is when. The first initial phase of it happened, but then when they crashed on Earth, then it happened again, and they realized what the hell's going on.
Well, that's what I do too, and then I would make them like it seems like everything's fine. They're doing press releases. They're the heroes. They're getting ticker tape parades, all this stuff, and then these weird things start manifesting, and then that's when that aspect of it happens. But I it's kind of like the Captain America. They're characters out of time, but I think it works. But then Ant-Man did that. They did that stupid time travel thing now, where his what do they call it? The macro. It's not the macro.
The microverse.
No, but in the movie,
the quantum realm. The quantum realm. I'm thinking DC.
Yeah, the bullshit realm. It should be it should be the macroverse or the microverse, but it's like, it's the cosmic or whatever.
Quantum realm.
Quantum realm.
Realm. And so now that deals with time more so than all this other stuff. But they blew it. Like, don't give it to Ant-Man. This is the Fantastic Four stuff, man. Yeah. So they're throwing a bunch of like C and D list characters, A list material, and it's like, fuck that. Oh, the negative zone. Yeah.
I would say I would not put them in the quantum realm. I would put them in the negative zone.
Right. But the thing is, they can't do this stuff now because it's going to seem like they've already played that card.
Screw them. It was them first.
Right. You know what I mean? Like viewers are just going to go, hey, we saw this movie already.
You're just stealing from Ant-Man. It's like, God damn it. Educate yourself.
Yeah, but if you're going to do Fantastic Four movies and you're going to do, let's just say, they're going to do them right, and there's going to be 3 Fantastic Four movies. What do you fucking choose from? I mean, there's so much. Okay, negative zone. But, you have Galactus, obviously, at some point you want to use, down the road, you want to save him for your big thing. But, Doctor Doom even done right would be a huge, huge movie, a big undertaking.
I would actually do Galactus first, and what I would do is I would build towards the Celestial Pantheon, so you could do kind of like a Secret Wars thing.
That in the movie.
And no, like the first movie would just be Galactus and the Coming of the Silver Surfer, and then the next movie would be like moving further up the Celestial Pantheon and seeing the interaction with that. You'd have to do it in other movies, obviously, too, like Guardians or something like that.
Yeah. Well, also what would make the Fantastic Four unique is if they were in the negative zone and they were places that no one's ever been.
Yeah,
they know these threats. They know what these other worlds are about. So they could definitely be completely original in that regard, because they could really bring these villains like Galactus and stuff like that. But the thing is, like, I think now I really want to see a Doom movie. Now that we're talking about it, because it's a great story, and it would be great to set that up even before the Fantastic Four. You know what I mean? Like start bringing this character in, start bringing his influence into the Marvel universe and all this other stuff. So then, when the Fantastic Four do come, then you can start bringing this, into play. Also, like, how would you bring it? Like, it has to be personal. So how is Doom
Yeah.
personal? You know, how do they
It's got to be about his relationship with Reed Richards when they were at college.
Well,
'Cause
no,
that's-
you can't do that, because if they're man out of time, like if we do that story I did that I was talking about, then you really can't do that. But what you can do is that maybe Reed has these theories, and the only one out there that even believes them is Doom. So then they do start off as friends, and then they go in their separate ways.
Well, you could do, like you said, if they wanted to lean on the magic element first, they could do something with him in Doctor Doom, where he challenges Doom
You mean
to
Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange, yeah, where he challenges him for the title of Sorcerer Supreme or something. And then you could like, if they do what they claim they're doing, which is they're going to bring in the supernatural characters like Blade, Ghost Rider, Midnight Suns kind of thing. You could do something along that line where you use the magic element to introduce Doom, but I don't think that would be the best way to do it. I think the best way to do it, and you talk about them being a man out of time, you got to remember, after the accident that they had in college, Doom disappeared for like 15 years. He disappeared into the mountains of Latveria, that's where he started studying magic and stuff like that.
Well, then you could bring in that he's semi-immortal or something like that if you wanted to still keep that storyline in place. But I think what would be interesting is like if Reed saw like Galactus is coming to Earth, right? Like when they were in the negative zone.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's writing papers. He's trying to, work out like how would we combat that? And then Doom finds out about, his findings, and then they start working together. But where they differ is application.
Yeah, where Doom wants to claim the power, and then Reed's like, I just want to stop the guy.
How to go about saving the world.
Or like Max said there, he could be the one that, like, if they were stuck in the negative zone, he could be the one. Doom could be the one that gets them out.
Yeah, I mean, you can play a lot of stuff like that where you can make the personal connection there. But I think that Doom definitely, since he's such a complex character, I think I agree with Chris, man. You'd have to do it in multiple
movies. Yeah. And like I said, you could almost do an entire phase with just the Fantastic Four.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
The real problem with doing the FF is going to be, we hit on this 2 or 3 weeks back where we were talking about the tone of the film. And with the FF, because we were talking about Captain America and how that was right. But with the FF, hitting the tone of that is everything. Because, for them to allow just a hint of hokiness in, fucking will blow it all apart and just ruin it. It will deflate it. It'll just deflate the whole thing.
Keep Taika Waititi away from this movie.
Right. Yeah, it has to be done straight and have that sciencey vibe, and it has to have that sense of seriousness and high drama, and the I mean, you got to lighten it up here and there, but I mean, you could use the relationship with Johnny and
Ben.
Yeah. But you can't just make it a hokey movie. I mean, it's just it just will not fly with Reed with his stretching powers, and it just won't work. It has to be played straight.
Yeah.
And for the most part, and be treated seriously.
I'd like to see Reed like them play up that element of Reed being so tunnel visioned when he's working on his like kind of like I don't know if you guys ever watched that TV show Fringe. The main
couple issues.
Yeah, the main character on there, like when he gets like science is everything, and that element of, and just play up how serious it is, and really push the element, the scientific element of that, and show that like that has so many parallels between Reed and Doom, and that's where a lot of that rivalry comes from.
Let me get this. Yeah, let me get this. I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No. I'm just saying that Reed is essentially always preoccupied because he's busy saving the world from some threat or another.
Yeah.
And that should be reflected in the character.
Yeah, especially the storyline that we're talking about here.
The
like
seriousness of it. Yeah.
It is like if he knows that there's impending doom, like there's Galactus or whatever. I mean, that's not something you take light. Hey, Bob, we're gonna need you again.
Yeah, I got him.
Eradicate these porn bots. But Mighty Joe, all we're doing is having fun. But let me read this first. Honestly, who cares anymore? Let Disney burn itself down and WB implode. Who is excited for a CG-based movie? I am.
Yo.
Yeah, black and white chrono mechanics. Yeah, let's do a movie.
I want you guys like the core, like back when, because I've been with CG since the first day. That I back in that when it was Ethan and John and Mike and you and I wanted like that. I wanted there to be a crossover between those core CG books. I still want that. Like I'd like to see like some kind of like a Crisis of Infinite Earths kind of thing with Cyberforce and Graveyard Shift with Cyber. I'm thinking I just got my Cyberforce collected edition.
Yeah, well, much to Mike's credit, like he drew an image with all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Even Red Rooster, I think, is in the image.
Yeah, I remember that, and he made a postcard out of it. But I just think it like something cool, like that kind of thing with like the heavy hitter CG books and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's going to come down to scheduling. I think the biggest thing to date is the CG Vacation, where all the CG characters are featured in the book.
Yep,
but let's go around too, man, because it's almost
we're running out of time.
Yeah, like let's just kind of do it real quick, because I think we got all the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Out of the way. But I really want to hear Pedro's. Like Pedro's is the one I really want. But no, go ahead, Bob. We'll do it the same order.
Well, my number 2 is Batman, so we've already talked about that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to
number 3.
My number 3, it was a toss up between Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
Oh,
and
the X-Men.
I went with X-Men.
All right.
Because I think like we talked about how like so many of the Fantastic Four villains have kind of crossed over and now they're kind of universal.
Mm-hmm.
I think X-Men villains are still almost entirely largely just X-Men villains. With the exception of maybe,
why is Loki in there?
Because Loki had the Asgardian saga with the X-Men.
Oh, that's right.
Where he kidnapped Storm. But I mean, you look at like and immediately like there's three S tier villains right here. There's Magneto in the middle, obviously one of the greatest villains of all time. Yeah. Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister.
Yes.
And then you look in the back, and then you've got the Hellfire Club, you've got the Sentinels, you've got Dark Phoenix, Mojo, the Brood. Sabretooth I consider more of a crossover character because he started off in Daredevil and then became largely a Wolverine villain, but he is part of the
X-Men villains.
What's the team that the team that Sinister put together? I can't remember. The Reavers. Oh, yeah.
But also there's Scarlet Witch and there's Quicksilver. They started off as villains. What was the team with
the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants?
Of Evil Mutants,
or Brotherhood of Mutants, whichever way you want to say it.
I think they had evil in there at the beginning.
In the beginning, they did, yeah.
Yeah.
But he started off in Iron Fist. That's right. Sabretooth started off in Iron Fist, but then he became largely a Wolverine villain. But and again, some of the greatest stories have come out of this Rogues Gallery, man. The Dark Phoenix saga, God Loves, Man Kills, Inferno. That's another. Goblin Queen. And the thing is that they just kind of run the gamut. They're just like they're all different. You know what I mean? The Marauders. That's what they're called. I can't remember. Yeah, that was the Fall of the Mutants storyline where Archangel got his wings torn off. But again, like I said, like just in this picture alone, you've got 3 S tier villains. You got a ton of A tier villains. Cameron Hodge from the Extinction Agenda. Even a character like Arcade, who's a character I thought that like if they did like an update on Arcade and just like updated the character so that he wasn't like such a goofy character anymore. The idea of somebody that kills people, of an assassin who kills people by torturing them to death in this friggin' death trap, like an escape room that's designed to kill you. Like that's a concept that they had way back then. And then you've got the Hellfire Club, which is kind of basically the evil X-Men.
You were getting too excited there for a minute.
But yeah, man. And you think about the creators that have worked on it, man.
Yeah,
You know,
Bob
you're
was
gonna
turning
make-
into a villain there for a minute.
yeah. But you think about all the creators that worked on this stuff, man. The you know, John Byrne,
Claremont,
Jim Lee,
Stanley, Jack Kirby.
Jack Kirby, Buscema, you know, that giant size X-Men #1, man, that thing is iconic. That thing changed the freaking comic book scene big time.
Well, even when Havoc was Hazard, it was Havoc, right? That's the brother of Cyclops.
Yeah, Havoc.
He almost seemed like a villain at first when they introduced the character.
Yeah. Well, he did become a villain for a short time after they went through the Sage Perilous, and he ended up in Genosha.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He became a magister.
Okay, so we got that. So Chris, what do you have as your second?
I actually agree with the X-Men, but I would be more specific, and like I think the Byrne run specifically was a tremendous high point for and this has everything to do with John Byrne being at his fucking peak powers, and every Marvel character he touched just became an instant star. He was just so good then, you know, and but like. There's such a great mix in his X-Men run of traditional heroes and nobody villains, that they just brought up. They unmothballed guys like Moses Magnum, and like every character he touched just became an instant star. And for that run, you talk about Hellfire Club, there were just major villains that like Proteus. Spectacular villain, and a killer villain.
A lot of them very unique too.
Yeah, and there's such a great mix of traditional bad guys and guys that were nobodies who now all of a sudden were big stars just because Byrne was drawing them, and new guys. It's a fantastic run, soup to nuts. There's not a bad issue. There's not a bad scene. There's not a bad page in that fucking run. It's like 40 issues. It's stellar. But like Moses Magnum, the Sentinels. I actually got an omnibus over here. I'm flipping through. When they go to the moon and they fight everybody when they're trying to save Jean. Alpha Flight comes out of this run. There's not a misstep anywhere, and you don't think of that as like, okay, maybe it's like some of the best Rogues Gallery ever, but when you think of, I think a lot of people, not just me, would say that that's the best comic book run that's ever been. Byrne's X-Men run. I think
gotta be at least top 5.
A lot of people think that, and every single time that every single adventure that they drummed up, even with Silly Bell,
Savage Land was in Byrne's run, right?
Savage Land is in there.
The Night of the Sentinels, I think, is in there.
Sentinels are in there. Boy, there's just tons. Like every 3 issues, they jumped ship and they went into a new adventure, and some like White Queen and Hellfire Club and Magneto. It's just such a great mix of just fucking everything. Old villains brought back to life. Nobody characters fucking made stellar. Brand new characters like Proteus and everything. Just they killed issue after issue, and that and that particular run, I think everybody thinks of it as the great X-Men run and sometimes the great comic book run of all time. But when you think about the villains and how every single time every character that John Byrne touched became a superstar,
right?
Just because he drew them.
That Hellfire story, that Hellfire Club storyline, that's the storyline where Wolverine became the Wolverine that we all know. Like when he comes crawling out of the sewer and he's like, my turn, and it's like,
That's
and let's not forget like Lin Wein, and Dave Cockrum. I mean, they were like the new X-Men guys, so that even predates the Byrne stuff and Claremont. So it's good stuff. And you know what? I mean, the thing is, and this is what comics needs to get back to. The hero is only as good as the villain. So all these villains that we're bringing up is why these heroes are so great. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't even really talk about the Rogues Gallery. I mean, we tried and not talk about Spider-Man, or we tried to talk about Batman's Rogue Gallery and not talk about Batman. You know what I mean? Like they're just
pointless.
They're synonymous. And so So you really need to, like, because I know you feel the same way, Chris, or you've been around these conversations. It's like, Superman just isn't a contemporary character. He just doesn't work, or you hear these kind of things like, oh, these characters don't work. And so then they go, well, we have to rework the heroes. I always thought you don't have to rework the heroes. Keep their integrity intact. Change the villains. You can make a hero contemporary by a contemporary villain. All of a sudden, then they have relevance and they're important again. That's all you need to do. You don't need to go, we need to change Superman for a new audience. No, you don't.
Change the villains.
Bring in new threats and make those threats. If you want to be contemporary, make them more about current day. And then all of a sudden, Superman's relevant again. He's fighting this, and story will come out of that. Trust me.
Yeah.
The dialogue will start changing. Superman's philosophies will start changing, because if it's more contemporary, it's the internet or it's whatever it is, then
Internet gas.
Internet gas. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, everything's going to change. And
and that's like what I think they did that with Superman with Super Sons when they brought in Jonathan Kent. That completely changed the dynamic of who he was, And then over the years, you look at what they've done. Like you look at what Lex
Jonathan
Luthor
Kent
began
is a
as.
villain because he's gay now.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing, Bob?
Yeah, but like you look at Lex Luthor, what he was just a corrupt businessman, back in when the character was first introduced, and now
he wasn't. He was a mad scientist.
He was a mad scientist, and then he became
the Burn stuff made him
the corrupt
once again
businessman.
Burn connection. Yeah.
But then like over the years, they've adjusted his villains, like Parasite. They adjusted Parasite. They changed what he was. They adjusted what Brainiac was. It's like you said, if you change the villains and you change like their motivation and who they are, and you just tweak them a little bit, that changes everything about how the hero has to react to them.
And not even change the villains, bring in new villains.
Yeah, well, Doomsday.
That's the main thing. Bring in brand new villains.
Yeah, I mean,
and that will work. So Bob got his, and Chris, we never got to yours. Is yours X-Men, or?
I think he said he says with X-Men.
Yeah, I think I would land on X-Men, specifically that Burn run. I mean, I think that everything in there was so special that it elevated everything to worthy discussion. I think it's criminal not to bring the FF into any conversation like this, but I think. But I would say if I had to have if we're going to leave the FF out, because I would, because FF, I came to them so late and to Kirby so late that they're not part of my like comic book DNA. I discovered Kirby only like 10 years ago. My uncle had those books when I was young, and I thought they were weird. And he had all the original Marvel books, and I used to sneak into his room and see all this. He had a full run of Spidey, full run of Daredevil, full run of Avengers, full run of FF, all the early books. He had everything, but my third choice would probably be Avengers, with the Skrulls and Wrecking Crew, and because they fought often, great villains, but also groups, Ultron. I think Avengers, and I'm talking Avengers in 60s and 70s specifically. I think for me, the Avengers are that quintessential superhero group, and I think that they always had good threats to go up against.
Yeah, the Squadron Supreme. Yeah, they had a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I was hoping we'd get through this quicker, because I wanted to do like maybe just as a throwaway or extra that we would do like villains for teams, like super teams. But we're kind of getting low on time. So I want to hear what Pedro. Don't disappoint me, Pedro.
Hey,
I've been teasing, man.
Yeah, okay. Number two. My number two was Spiderman, so we're not gonna do that. So we're gonna jump right to my number three, which is what taught me what a rogue gallery was. And
yes,
Dick Tracy, baby.
Yes.
Oh yeah. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, this is so old. We're talking like late 30s. This started, and Chester Gould just grabbed a thing and turned it into a character. So basically, like little face, a guy with a little face, shaky, a guy who won't stop shaking, prune face, like he looks like a prune. It's so simple, but I mean, after you get past the joke, like he developed their personalities and everything, and I don't know, like my dad was a big fan of Dick Tracy, and we only saw it like on strips in Panama.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen like a compilation like fully of Dick Tracy, but when they did that movie in the '80s with Warren Beatty, do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Dude, like it was like flat top, prune face, little face for like 2 minutes, then they die.
Yeah.
And it's like dude, that was horrible.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
everybody wanted to see those villains. It's like,
Yeah.
Flat Top is Dick Tracy's Joker. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like you have to have the movie centered on that character.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I think, and also I like the designs. I think
Yeah,
they're
dude.
really freaking cool, man.
Yeah.
It
It's just
it
got
goes
that.
with the words.
There's just something about that square jawed look for Dick Tracy, man.
Yeah.
He just like, that's like, that brings to mind like those old hard boiled detective serials back in the day,
Yeah,
like
that
Maltese
was so-
Falcon.
I
Mhm.
mean, when I was a kid, every Sunday you get the paper and you read through all the strips and everything, and we'd actually like lay them out on the floor. And you get the
Mhm.
Sunday funnies, spread them all out on the floor, lie on the floor, and read everything. Yeah, because I had a brother. But Dick Tracy was still something that was, we would read in those days. Now we're talking 70s, and that's
Mhm.
well after his heyday. So.
Yeah.
I always thought, like, somebody brought up the movie. I thought that Bruce Willis was a better choice for
Yeah.
Tracy
And
than
Warren Beatty.
Warren
Mhm.
Beatty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mind Warren Beatty for it. I think what happened with that was it just got. I think the writing just wasn't very good.
Mhm.
I think if they had gone with a more grounded, realistic, hard boiled feel to it, I think it would have been like go with like more of a crime noir feel to it than what they did. And I understand why they did that, because they wanted to kind of capture that colorful nature of the comic strip and whatnot. But I think if you're going to do a good Dick Tracy movie, you got to kind of leave a little bit of that behind.
Mhm.
Well, and get rid of Warren Beatty, but
Yeah. Exactly.
Actually, if you're going to get rid of anybody, get rid of Madonna.
well,
When Madonna was in the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Warren-
she's
Warren
the
Beatty-
reason why Flat Top and all those guys died in five
Literally.
seconds.
Ugh.
Well, Warren Beatty wouldn't do the prosthetics, so I thought, like,
Mm-mm.
in the world where everybody has the prosthetics, like, give him the hawk nose, give him that, and like, to be honest, like, Bruce Willis almost has that profile anyway. He's like
Yeah.
like if you had a realistic, version of
He's so
Dick Tracy,
insufferable, though.
it would be Bruce.
Yeah.
But think about when this movie was made. Like,
Yeah, I understand, but
I think
Yeah.
Bruce Willis was kind of at his prime. I think he
he's
would have.
such a dick.
Nah.
I
I love his movies, dude. I love his movies, man.
Warren
Die Hard
Beatty's
is still
an asshole too.
Die Hard is
like,
still one of my favorite movies of all time. But
They're
God,
all
Die
Bruce
Hard
Willis
is, the first Die Hard is
insufferable.
spectacular still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, man.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yeah.
one of the
Best
best
action
villains.
movie
You
ever.
talk about rogues galleries or
Yeah.
villains like
Again,
that's
that's
weird.
why it's great, right?
Uber.
Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that movie great? Because the villain is so great.
Nice
Yeah.
suit.
villain is so good, And you know what? Like some people hold Arnold's the first Conan movie. They it's a good movie. Thulsa Doom. If you ever read the Ron what is it? Howard what is his name? Howard. Oh my gosh, the writer.
Wow, I can't join a
It's
board.
not-
That dude.
What's that?
That dude.
It's got an E and it's got a Howard in it. But it's not Ron.
Robert Howard. Robert E. Howard.
Robert E.
Is that
Howard.
who you're talking about?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
I'm
there's
like, you're confusing me.
There's Thulsa Doom, and they have what's his name? What is the Thulsa Doom? He played Darth Vader, did the Vader voice.
Dude, we're horrible with names today.
God.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones. Thank
James
you.
Earl Jones.
Okay, so we got it straight. It's Thulsa Doom, James Earl Jones. Okay, so there's this scene in Conan, right? And so you have this great actor, and
With a
Arnold's
horrible
like
wig.
it's like he's hanging from this thing, and so Thulsa Doom steps on his hand, and then Arnold's like like it hurts. And I'm like that's not how
We used
Robert
to
E.
watch
Howard
Conan.
would have wrote the character. Like he would never have given that villain, that much. He would have harbored it, and then he would have just destroyed that guy later. And I just thought like Thulsa Doom was kind of okay, but I thought that if they would have made that guy more like the books, the novels, I think then they would have had to kind of have Conan step up. But maybe they couldn't just because, Arnold isn't, all that as far as an actor.
Mhm.
But if he was, man, I mean, that's a great villain. Like Thulsa Doom is a great villain in the novels.
What do you mean Arnold is not a great actor? Everybody, chill.
Everybody
Chill.
Dude, speaking, dude, I know it's a little off tangent, but
Oh my gosh, the porn bots are back.
I got
Yeah!
him. Did you guys see? Did any of you guys watch Stallone's new movie, Samaritan?
What
Yeah,
comic
I
is it
saw
based on? I don't know. I didn't see
It's
it.
not based off a comic. It's just like it's a superhero story that he made.
It's not knocked off.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
No, it's kind of a knockoff. It's kind of a Punisher kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
I heard
that
it was
kind-
okay. Yeah.
yeah, it was all right. I mean, you could see the big twist coming from a mile away.
Yeah, exactly.
But dude, yeah, like we talk about like rogues galleries, man. James Bond.
Mm.
James
Yeah.
Bond's got a great rogues gallery, and then Dr. No, Blofeld.
Yeah.
Well, my last
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger.
one is I think that Chris wanted to do this as well. It's the Flash villains.
Yeah.
And I think Flash has got some good villains. One of my favorite, like I know we got to kind of wrap this up, but let's just go over some of them. Like Professor Zoom, Reverse Flash. Those are some of the newer ones. The Fiddler. Let me see. I'm trying to go
Captain
with the
Cold.
Ragdoll.
Captain Cold. Yeah, like the actual rogues, the ones that call them the Captain Cold, the Trickster, Heatwave.
It says
Those
Black Cat. I don't know who's Black Cat in the DC universe.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
What was his name? What's
Gorilla
Kronos,
Grodd.
Gorilla Grodd is the yeah.
Kronos, I think, is a Flash villain. isn't it?
Kronos. What's
Kronos
his
the
name?
Time Thief. Yes. And Captain Cold, Captain Boomerang, Heatwave, Mirror Master. Okay, I'm going to go into a Mirror Master rant. Okay, I always thought Mirror Master was one of the better villains because it's kind of like the Looney Tunes. You know how they paint, like Roadrunner, they would paint the side of the mountain with a
tunnel?
like it's a tunnel. Yeah. And so then if you're running real fast, you don't have time to register like, oh, it's just a painted shape on the side of a mountain. And then you run into it, right? Well, I always thought like Mirror Master, since he can do like illusions, if you're running real fast, you're the Flash, that would be a great way to mess him up, is just with like these mirrors and just like his just creating these illusions of what's there, what's not there. And you could really mess up the Flash. I don't know how you take him down, but you could definitely mess with his head. And so then you got the Pied Piper, the Trickster, Weather Wizard. Some good stuff, man.
Yeah, a little bit of that old school DC cheese to his rogues gallery, but
yes,
I am not a person that shits on that. I mean, I love that stuff, and I think again, it's just there are no bad characters. It doesn't matter. You put a good writer on that character and that villain, he'll fucking be awesome. Because you need a guy with ideas, but I think.
Yeah.
The Flash Rogues Gallery, I think, is underrated. I think is really solid, and I make the same comparison with Iron Man. I think Iron Man's Rogues Gallery is also equally good and underrated.
The only reason I didn't put Iron Man higher on my personal list, because I made like a top 10, is because all of his villains are except for like one or two, are derivatives of him. They're all armor suits.
My favorite Iron Man villain is Spy Master.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
With the exception of like the Mandarin and Fin Fang Foom, they're all kind of derivatives of him.
Titanium Man.
Hey, who was is it Stilt Man? Is that an Iron Man villain?
Yeah. Don't you remember Iron Wars? Armor
I
Wars.
always-
Armor Wars.
The definitive like is like Cap and Tin Man or
Titanium Man.
Stilt Man, and then like Cap and Batrock the Leaper. Like I always think of those as
Crimson
being
Dynamo.
Cap villains. But if you think about Cap, now that we're talking about villains only, heroes only as good as their villains, Cap really doesn't have a great rogues gallery. If
Not
you think
really.
about it, he's got some good standouts, but he doesn't have a lot.
He doesn't have He doesn't have much of a B and C tier.
Yeah, like for example, Baron Zemo started as
Yeah, he's got
better in the Avengers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Red
Sure.
Skull,
Mm-hmm.
Strucker. I would say Strucker, Taskmaster.
Mhm.
Those are like the three
But
major
most
ones.
of them are
I
all
see those guys as
wartime.
Avenger villains.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
Avenger
yeah.
villain.
And most of them are wartime. Like I always thought, like Captain America, as
Hitler.
like in his own book, I always thought he was the weakest. I love the character, but because he doesn't seem like a super villain type of guy. You know what I mean? But when he's in the Avengers, it seems to work better because like Cap seems like a soldier. It seems like he would be fighting combatants, like military things like that, or like like a Zemo type military or a Red Skull type military, but not necessarily like super villains. But when he gets into the Avengers, he becomes like the soldier. He becomes the guy that's like the general, and he's kind of leading the charge and all that other stuff. So I always thought like Cap, almost like he was tailor-made for the Avengers. He works better as Avenger than he ever did in his own book.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Stan-
I feel like
was
that
Stan
too.
that brought him back for the Avengers. It was
Yeah.
Jack's character, and Joe. Why am I trying to blank now? But it was their character from the '40s. But Cap, was a wartime character. And in those days you had Wonder Woman and Cap, and those characters sold big in the war years. But after the war was over, those characters died. They were not heard from.
Well,
for many years.
Yeah, the smartest thing was like bringing Cap back in the Avengers. You know what I mean? Like that's a genius move because he doesn't really fit in to me personally in any other capacity because he goes from fighting not just comic book villains as they were when Cap fought them, but they're real, like the Nazis, stuff like that. So that's the worst villain of all time, and so how do you really top that? It's almost impossible.
In the Avengers, I think he's way more effective as a comic book character because he's a leader. And you're doing that wartime thing, but stepping it up, and also he's relating back to his experience wartime leadership things and trying to make it apply to this new world. He's the man out of time, and all that. I think it functions really well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's cut to like our top, like what we already gave our. So what's our top three out of all the choices that things that we brought up? So we got Spider-Man, we got Batman, we got Dick Tracy, we have the Fantastic Four,
and the X-Men,
and the X-Men. That's 5 actually? There should be an even number.
No.
Oh, it's 5 because Chris had.
Because we had some of the same ones.
Yeah, some of the same ones. Yeah. Okay, so out of those 5, Bob, what's your top 3?
My top 3, I'm a Batman guy, so I gotta go Batman number 1. Number 2, just me personally, I would go Fantastic Four, number 2, and X-Men number 3. I mean, I recognize that Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery is probably head and shoulders above everybody else's, but just me personally, those are the books I gravitated to.
Okay, so your choices are Batman number 1, Fantastic Four, and then X-Men.
And then X-Men, and then I like an honorable mention to Superman.
Okay. So Pedro, who do you have? What's your top?
My top should be Batman.
Okay.
Batman second, really like close second. Spider-Man.
Okay.
And third one, Fantastic Four. I mean, Dick Tracy is really like I brought it because I got memories from childhood, but I mean, we're getting serious now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like
those
if
three.
and like my childhood, man, like one of my favorite rogues galleries was from Teen Titans, man.
Oh, dude.
So
Yeah, they actually have a pretty, but
Yeah.
you know, that's one of those things where when they
Mm.
brought those characters out, they went, we need kick-ass villains to go with these new characters, and they
Mm.
did,
Yeah.
man. They sure as hell did.
That's
Hey,
not a bad call. Yeah.
hey, Bob, can you take this, and then Chris,
Yep.
give yours. I got to go to the bathroom really bad.
Do
it's
it.
that old man bladder.
He's
Yeah,
the
so,
only
like,
one who. He's the only one who's not drinking.
So
You do-
what's your
Oh, there you go.
yeah? What's your choices, Waz?
Well, you know, leaps and bounds above everything else is Spider-Man for me. It's
Mhm.
my favorite character, and the depth of his rogues gallery.
Greatest
I
everyman
think-
character ever made.
Yeah, for sure. And but it's not because of Doc Ock and Green Goblin, and it's because of his B-list guys. I
Mhm.
think they're so intriguing. They're just great villains. They're creative. You know, a lot of what Ditko did, you know, creating character. I think Ditko after Kirby is the great villain creator. All the characters they came up with stood the test of time, and but because of the work that Stan put into developing that character, and then he passed on the mantle to Conway and everything. I just think that his B list and C list, and then into years and years and years after, people kept creating great villains for
Yeah.
Spider-Man. I think his leaps and bounds it's Spider-Man
Yeah,
far and
like
above
when
everyone else. And
Yeah.
and then my second choice is going to be just the X-Men, but specifically Burns X-Men, and that's because the execution of those books are so fantastic that they're just it elevates whatever villain was in them, and and I recognize that it's criminal to say that above Fantastic Four, but I'm just gonna
No, indeed. Like I
and
said,
then-
like I had to
yeah.
recognize that my personal preference between Batman and
it-
Spider-Man
it-
was not realistic.
Yeah, it's my
Right.
it's personal choice, and it's just the effect of being, 15 years old and reading those books.
Yeah.
It's just to this day I open those books and I'm in awe. So, and then my third choice is going to be, I think, Avengers, because of again it's Stan and Roy Thomas. It's 60s and 70s. It's all the early creations of Ultron and
Well, let's
Annihilus.
go. Let's go with the ones we talked about, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a consensus. I'm going to see how many of each
Mhm.
one, and then we can do our top three, and then we can
Mhm.
see
Okay.
based on what we were talking about. So let's do the Avengers as like what did you say, Bob? Like
honorable mention.
honorable mention,
Mhm.
and then we'll get Pedro's as well. So other than the Avengers, would it be what would it be?
Of the ones we talked about,
Yeah, the ones we talked about.
Spider-Man, FF.
Yeah, you
and
got
X-Men, Spider-Man, FF, and
Batman.
X-Men.
Well,
and then
Chris
Batman.
has got Spider-Man and X-Men so far.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there's FF, there's
Batman.
there's Spider-Man. Well, I
Yeah.
mean there's FF. No, you said it.
The Flash.
The Flash,
Flash.
Dick Tracy, Batman. Is that it?
Those are the only three that are left.
Yeah.
So out of those three,
Pick one.
FF, Batman, and Dick Tracy.
I think the ranking where we're landing on an agreement is probably Spider-Man number 1, Batman number 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is your personal one, though.
No, because Batman. I'm just trying to think of what we all thought.
No. Just what do you think? Like, and then
I'm gonna go Spider-Man, X-Men, then Avengers.
we can't go Avengers because
Well, Avengers wasn't one of the 5 that we came up with.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So the other 3 you have to choose
FF.
from are
so you got FF,
FF, yeah.
and then Avengers will be honorable mention. So what's
Yeah,
your
sure.
honorable mention, Pedro?
Honorable mention. I lean towards Dick Tracy as an honorable mention, just because nostalgia. I know I'm not in consensus here, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just fun characters.
Well, he was.
Yeah, there's something to be said for goofy fun, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine is Batman, X-Men, Fantastic Four. So we have 1, 2, 3 bats. We have 3
Mhm.
bats. Okay. We have One, two. We have 2 Spideys. Spidey might not make it, man.
Wow, what? I'm leaving.
What?
It's just a personal thing, man.
I'm surprised X-Men did
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
thought it was going to be the
Oh
standout.
shit! Okay, we got 4 for Fantastic Four.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, it's the first one.
Yeah.
So
It really
buy,
is.
buy this list. Okay, get this. Okay,
Yeah.
buy this list. It's Fantastic Four, Batman, X-Men.
Yeah.
What?
Spider-Man's
As-
not
as
even there. Wow.
as a personal thing. But like I
Wow.
said, like the fan in me, that's a more realistic list for me. But the comic book guy in me knows
yeah.
Spider-Man's rogues list is head and shoulders.
Well,
above.
Yeah.
I could have hedged that bet, you know, because I was like X-Men or Spider-Man, X-Men or Spider-Man.
Yeah, but it's like you look at that Spider-Man rogues gallery.
Look
man,
at
it's
Chris
just-
is like, I want to
I'm-
reach
I'm
out.
upset.
it's
I got
bonkers shit.
robbed.
But
I think with Trigger,
We're not going to do Mind Worm? This is ridiculous.
This is. I got robbed.
yeah,
robbed.
Joseph Dredd in the chat said number 1 Spider-Man, number 2 Batman, number 3 Flash. Honorable mention X-Men. So it's like that. It's a personal preference thing, man.
Yeah.
That's
You know what we're
that's
gonna do is we're gonna go on Chris's show next week, and then Chris can run. He can run the whole thing.
It'd be like
That's-
now it's
my
like
show's
so
gonna
this
be
is
flogging all of you.
it's like this is reality, and then you guys now have to admit that
Yeah.
you're wrong.
But you're wrong.
So
Yeah.
Bob didn't bring up Spider-Man, and I didn't bring up Spider-Man, but Pedro has Batman, Spider-Man, FF. Bob had Batman, FF, X-Men, and I had Batman, X-Men, F-Men,
F-Men.
Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
and then Chris had Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four.
Marcus,
Well, you know, the saddest thing
Marcus agrees with
Oh,
Waz.
yeah.
He's like, this is a fail.
This is a fail. Yeah. I feel horrible.
you got some commiserators
Yeah,
here.
like I will freely admit that if you take you take personal opinion out of it, Spider-Man is head and shoulders above every other rogues gallery. Just
mean,
because of his secondary characters being
Yeah.
better
Okay,
than most
I-
A-tier characters.
I'm just going to get everybody to hate me on this.
Mm-hmm.
One, there was only one DC character, by the way, out of all this. So come on, DC, you got to step it up with the villains. But 2, Spider-Man wasn't my jam as a kid. Like I like Spider-Man
Blasphemy.
in the Marvel team up. Like I thought that
Yeah.
that was a cool Spider-Man because
Mm-hmm.
he was always Spider-Man. I didn't really like Peter Parker. Like
Oh,
I thought
boy.
I
Oh,
thought
we're not
Peter-
speaking ever again.
I thought
I don't think we can be friends anymore, Art.
Oh, wow.
I thought Peter was a little whiny and a little bit
Oh,
of a
my
loser.
God. Where's the fucking off button? Okay, we're
Oh,
running
geez.
late. I got to go.
All right, Chris.
Ah!
All right, Chris, I'm leaving.
I'm
I'm
going to go
leaving.
schedule a massage or something.
Art, play the trailer to send us out, man.
Jesus
Wait, where'd he go?
Christ.
Where'd he go? Art, come back.
Oh, no.
You boomered.
No, you know what?
No, I said I was going to leave because Chris. So I actually left.
You got to play us out with the trailer, man.
Mm-hmm.
What trailer? Oh, the
Yeah, the SWAT trailer, man.
so we can get demonetized. Like I don't make a lot off these videos, but the money
Yeah.
I do make,
I know.
The money, every penny counts. So yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But-
it's a great video. Pedro warned us. He said you're not going to get very far with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what, you guys, we'll have Pedro post it on Twitter after this. So go to Pedro's Twitter and check out the Pontificators SWAT intro that he sweat. You know, like there's blood, sweat,
Yeah.
tears
It
invested.
was a hectic afternoon.
Sleepless nights.
I'm still upset. This is wrong.
It's like, you son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
Good.
Take us home.
I'll try to come back next week.
Chris is like, we can't be brothers and we can't be friends.
We can't be friends anymore.
Wow.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out with us. We had a lot of fun, and everybody that gave up their time to hang out on the Pontificators today. We got Bob, Comic Book Bob, Pedro Eng, and Chris Wozniak. Thanks. And also we had Clint Helinski bopped in for a couple minutes. So thanks to Clint as well. And we will see you guys next week with another amazing topic. Hopefully we can talk Chris back after
Yeah.
Talk me off the ledge first.
After the betrayal.
Dude, I'm thinking fruit basket art. We need to
Might need a monetary bribe, man.
monitor Brad.
I don't know if Bruce's gonna do it.
maybe
some fine wine. Yes.
maybe some cigars. Yeah,
Some cigars.
or something. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks again, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next week for another Pontificators.